Alright, welcome to the Photoshop tutorial. This is going to be a very quick tutorial over what we do, or what I do, with images and things like that for the brochure, for Facebook, so on and so forth. Alright, so there's a lot of tutorials online. I'm going to go ahead and click on Photoshop over here. This is on the Mac. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of tutorials online that are very, very helpful, very good with this type of thing. What I will try to start with usually, and let me see if I have any over here, I don't think I do, is an image that yes I do, that I've used before. And what I mean is, see this one here, this add1.psd, it's a Photoshop image, and it's actually up here, over here as well. I have some of the text there, so I'm going to start with that one. Okay, so I have an image here that I've already done a little bit of work to, and I have the name of the show, the playwrights at 50% of the name, which is what's required, the date, and then I have our buy information down here along with the logo. I use PNGs, which means that there's no white background or anything. It's a transparent background, and you can find these on this computer in the Finder, Downloads, and then you come down to BRCT logo 2013 PNG. Okay, the difference is here's a JPEG, and the JPEG, see, has that white background, whereas the PNG does not. So if I were to start from scratch, let me pull up this image here. First thing that I do after I take pictures, I'll load them all, or I'll have them all on a card from the camera, and I plug them into a computer, and I go through and I pick out the best ones, the ones that I think will look the best after I do a little bit of work to them. This one looks like it's this image. I drag it up here into this bar. Otherwise, if you drag it here, it's going to add the image to this image, and I don't want that. And this is actually the wrong one. I want the same one, which should be this one. Nope, it's neither of those. Regardless, for the sake of this video, what I'll do is I'll edit this one like I'm going to use it. So I will start with some brightness contrast adjustments and just kind of see what looks good. I don't want to make it any darker, so I'm going to bring up the brightness just a hair. Bring up the contrast as well. Then I'm going to go back to image again, go to adjustments, go to vibrance. My settings that I typically use, I go up to about 40 on vibrance, maybe a little, maybe a little bit less. For this image, let's do about 30. And then saturation, just a hair, around 4. That really brings out the blues. It can also distort the face. As you can see, there's just bad lighting on her face when we took this picture. For this purpose, we're going to leave it like this. And then we can add in all types of stuff. I mean, we can do a photo filter and just try to bring in a nice cooling filter to give this a unified look. We could bring down the density just so that there's a hint of blue over it. No, well, we'll do that. That looks fine. Now, let's go back over here to the ad. This is the final one. Typically what I'll do is I'll have a different picture that I want to use for Facebook, and instead of having to recreate all of this text, what we'll do is we'll come over here to the right side. We'll click the logo. See, this highlights. Then we'll hold down Control or the flag if you're on a Mac, and we will pick all of this stuff here without picking the background. Then we're going to right-click, and we're going to go to duplicate layers. Destination is image 3421 up here. We'll click OK. And there it is. It's much smaller on this one because we haven't resized it yet. But we'll get to that in just a second. Then I just click without dragging. Click on one of the corners, one of these boxes. Come up here to this link. And what that does is it locks in the size and pixels. Otherwise, I could make this really crazy looking, and I don't want that. This will clean up once I click the check mark. And see, if I were to keep that, the parameters, and dragged it out like that, it'd be way too big. So I don't want that though. What I want is for this to be the same distance apart and everything as the other one, at least for now. Click the check mark. There we go. It cleans up. That looks much better. Obviously, this color, the white color, isn't working here against the white skin, so I may bring this center. There we go. Suddenly we can read it. This looks like it already has some effect on it, but I'll show you anyways. Dearly Departed, text there, right click it, blending options, yeah, bevel and emboss. You could pause the video and see what I've done there. Contour, texture. If it watch the text when I release the bevel and emboss. Add it, take it away, add it. It's not a huge change, but if I take away all of this, it looks very flat. And then I add it back again. And there's different things you can do with this. I mean, you can create, it's at 100% depth right now. You can do a greater depth, a bigger size, stuff like that to really see what changes are made to it. But this gives it some roundness, the text that is, whereas this is flat and I left it like that. But we could do the same thing here. We could make this, we could give this a more rounded look by doing a bevel and emboss and all that good stuff. But we're going to leave it like that, okay? So then what we'll do, since this is going to go up somewhere online, we will take the image, we'll go to image size, and resolution as a standard, I make it 500 pixels per inch. This would make it huge if I just clicked OK. It was at 72 before, which is really low, but even at 72, you can see this is a really big image. So I'm going to go to 500, makes it a huge image, high quality image, and then I'm going to bring this down to 1,000 by 667, or I want to try to get this a little bit higher, so I'll do 1,500. It's 1,500 by 1,000, and watch what happens. Makes it much, much smaller. We can come down to the bottom left, and we can highlight the percentage, and we can zoom in. Right now it's at 33.33%. I'm going to go to 100%, and that brings me back into where I want to be. What I could have and should have done before is crop this, and so with this new Photoshop, you come over here, right click, and it gives you all of these options, which is where they all hide now, and you click crop tool, and probably would have brought this in a little bit, I would have brought this down, stuff like that, which I won't do now, and try to get a tighter look, much like this one. See how tight of a look that is. I just barely have her head near cutting off some of her body. I left enough space over here to have the text, which is what you want to watch out for. You don't want to get it so close that your text is over faces or over a lot of clothes. You want to try to get dark spaces for the text. So think about that whenever you're framing these shots. I try not to get straight on, which is almost what this one is. It's a bad picture, but this one's more at an angle, which is more interesting. You see a lot of different stuff. You're kind of wondering what's going on here. She's looking down at his hand, and he has his hand on her knee. She's talking to him. She doesn't know what's going on. Try to always have someone talking in a picture, and yeah, it's a nice picture. It's got some good color on it. There's some weirdness with the stage lighting, which has put some heavy light on his face. Anyways, we want to make it a smaller picture for when we put it on Facebook. Make sure when you post to Facebook that you put the telephone number on there, any buy information that's needed. And make sure it's on the image as well, because people typically share our images because they look really nice. And make sure you also are saving. Let me come back up here to final. I'll go through all of the images and do a final Photoshop on them, which typically is just brightness, contrast, and vibrance. And I'll get them looking nice for the brochure so that they're ready to go once it's brochure time. This one I did not, as you can see, do that. Some of these would need to be refocused. Number of these I didn't take since I was in the show. And if you want to see who I was in the show, that is me. But typically I will have all of the images photoshopped and ready to go for the brochure so that we don't have to do it all then. But with this show, I decided we'll just pick images and then I'll Photoshop them and we'll send them out. So that is a quick tutorial of Photoshop. Hope that this is helpful. Let someone know if you have any questions. Thanks.